When the news broke that BTS wouldn't be submitting their music for the Grammys this year, I saw the same comments over and over again. They're just mad they never won. They're overreacting. They can still compete in the main categories anyway. And after spending the last couple of days reading BTS's statement, Harvey Mason Jr.'s response, the Recording Academy's explanation, and honestly watching the internet completely tear itself apart over this, I don't think that's what this is about at all. I think this is about something much bigger than BTS. Hey y'all, this is Miss Neo back on What's New with Miss Neo. So let's start from the beginning. The Recording Academy recently announced a brand new Grammy category, Best Asian Pop Music Performance. According to the Academy, the category was created to recognize the incredible growth and global influence of Asian pop music. On paper, that sounds like a step forward. Then BTS released a statement that completely changed the conversations. Instead of submitting their music, they said they had decided not to participate because they hope music can be appreciated without being divided by region or language. Read that again. They didn't accuse the Grammys of discrimination. They didn't say they were boycotting the awards. And they didn't complain about losing. They simply said they don't believe music should be categorized based on where it comes from. Then Harvey Mason Jr., the CEO of the Recording Academy, responded. He said he respected BTS's decision even though he was saddened by it. And he made one thing very clear. Artists in the new Asian pop category are still fully eligible for Album of the Year, Record of the Year, Song of the Year, Best Pop Vocal Album, and the rest of the general field. So technically, nothing about this new category prevents BTS from competing for the biggest awards. And that's where I think a lot of people stopped listening. Because if Harvey Mason Jr. is right, why would BTS refuse to submit? To me, the answer has never been eligibility, it's symbolism. For years, BTS has been trying to prove that music doesn't need to be separated by language. They topped the Billboard Hot 100, sold out stadiums around the world, broken records that many Western artists haven't, and earned Grammy nominations. They spent years proving they belong in the same conversation as every other global pop act. So I understand why creating a category specifically for Asian pop doesn't necessarily feel like progress from their perspective. Because if artists have already proven they belong in the main categories, why create another lane? Now, I can see the other side. The Recording Academy says this category creates more opportunities for recognition, and that could be their intention. Asian artists have historically been underrepresented at major Western award shows. Giving more artists a chance to be recognized isn't a bad goal, but I also think BTS raises a fair question. Should representation mean creating separate spaces? Or should it mean making sure artists are recognized in the same spaces as everyone else? And that's where this stopped being a BTS story. Because once Harvey Mason Jr.'s interview came out, the internet exploded. One argument I kept seeing was, well, the Grammys are an American award show. But here's where that argument starts to fall apart. The Recording Academy accepts submissions from artists around the world. Its voting members aren't exclusively American. BTS themselves are Grammy voting members. So, yes, the ceremony takes place in the United States, but the Grammys also markets themselves as one of the world's premier music awards. That's why so many people reject the idea that international artists should simply expect different treatment. Then another conversation started gaining traction. People began asking why the Academy felt the need to create a category based on one region at all. If the logic is that Asian pop deserves its own category because it's become a global force, should there eventually be categories for European pop, African pop, Middle Eastern pop, Canadian pop? Or does creating only one regional pop category unintentionally send the message that Asian artists are still being viewed differently? Again, That's not the Recording Academy's stated intention, but intention and perception aren't always the same thing. Another point I found really interesting is that this discussion didn't start with BTS. For years, music fans have argued that even when black artists are fully eligible for the General Field Awards, they often recognize primarily in rap or R&B categories instead. Whether you agree with that criticism or not, it shows that this isn't the first time people have questioned how the Grammys categorize artists. We all know that the Grammys are notorious for doing scammy things. So when the Academy announced an Asian pop category, a lot of people didn't see it as an isolated decision. They saw it as part of a much bigger conversation about who gets recognized where. Then things got even stranger. Fans noticed that BTS's Grammy performance videos were no longer available on the official Grammy platforms. Now, before anybody clips this and says I'm spreading misinformation, there has been no official explanation for why those performances disappeared. It could be licensing, it could be rights issues, it could be something completely unrelated. We simply don't know. But I also understand why fans found the timing suspicious. After years of feeling like BTS's relationship with the Grammys has been complicated, seeing those performances disappear only added more questions. And another thing that I would like to add really quickly is the rules for this category. To qualify for the Asian pop category, a recording has to contain a meaningful amount of Asian language lyrics. But that immediately raises another question. What counts as meaningful and who gets to decide that? Who in the Grammy Corporation gets to decide if those lyrics are meaningful? K pop has evolved into a global genre where mixing Korean and English is incredibly common. And it's been common for a long time. So some fans have started questioning whether that requirement could unintentionally encourage artists to lean more heavily into Korean or other Asian languages if they want to qualify for the category. One theory that's been circulating online is that because non English songs have historically faced challenges getting US radio play, creating a category tied to Asian language lyrics could discourage companies from releasing more English heavy songs aimed at the Western market. There's no evidence that this was the Recording Academy's attention, but it does show why these eligibility rules have sparked so much debate. They need to understand that there is a cause and effect to everything. And I think this is the part where my opinion comes in. Yes, I'm an army. I'm not pretending to be completely unbiased, but I also don't think BTS made this decision because they were bitter. Because if this was about losing, they would have submitted, waited for nominations, and then criticized the Grammys if they were being snubbed again. Instead, they chose not to participate before the race even started. That doesn't feel like someone chasing validation. That feels like someone making a statement. Do I think the Recording Academy had bad intentions? Who knows? They could have thought that they were doing something positive, but good intentions don't automatically lead to good outcomes. Because if one of the biggest artists in the world hears Best Asian Pop Music Performance and responds with, "We'd rather not participate," then I think it's worth asking why. Whether you agree with BTS or not, they forced the music industry to confront a question that is not going away. What does representation actually look like? Is it creating more categories for different groups? Or is it reaching a point where artists no longer need to be separated by region or language at all? That's the conversation that BTS just started. And judging by everything we've seen over the last few days, I don't think it's ending anytime soon. I don't think this was BTS rejecting a Grammy category. I think it was BTS rejecting the idea that they even needed one. But comment down below and let me know all y'all's opinions on this topic. It is a lot, but I'm going to keep y'all updated. I'm going to keep bringing y'all the news. I'm going to keep bringing y'all my opinions, and I'm going to keep bringing y'all the tea. Why? Because there's always something new with Miss Neo.